Hello there and welcome to Life English Lessons. We're going to do a lesson on the history of hacking and how hacking began, as it was known back then, phreaking, people who manipulated the phone system. There's one interesting story that I like, which is about a person who was nicknamed Captain Crunch, que tenía el mote de Captain Crunch. And this was very relevant to the beginning of hacking history. Let's see what this is about. Come on. Okay, so here we have our lesson worksheet, the history of hacking, and we begin with the first question. Are you tech savvy? Now, what is it to be tech savvy, or what is it to be savvy in general? Well, first we should know that savvy comes from sapere, which is Latin, and from saber, which is Spanish or Portuguese, which means to know. And it was taken to savvy into English in the 17th century. Okay, it was used as savvy. To be savvy means to be knowledgeable or proficient in something. As we can see here, as to be tech savvy is to be informed about or proficient in the use of modern technology, especially computers. Okay. And then, as we're going to talk about the history of hacking, I would like to ask you, what is a hacker? So we have I put three objects in the worksheet: an axe, a computer, and a box of cereal. Okay. Now, what do you think a hacker is? Well, obviously, maybe the obvious answer might be a person who hacks computers, right? Like a pirate, somebody who tries to get into a computer without authorization. And that is correct. That is correct. However, that's the obvious answer. But there are other answers that we can use as well. We can use an axe to hack, because to hack is to cut or chop something into pieces. To hack wood is to cut wood. So that would also make sense. That's where the word hacker comes from: to hack, to break, to cut, to chop. Okay? As it says here, to hack is to cut or chop something with short, strong blows, short, strong attacks or hits. Like if you hack your way through a thick jungle with a machete. To hack is also to illegally break into someone's computer. So we know that we need an axe, we need a computer, but why the box of cereal? Why Captain Crunch? Okay, well, let's get into that. Now, we have a vocabulary exercise on the left, and we're going to leave that for the end. Okay, so first, let's move down and let's see the text. So we've got a piece of text here, and we've got some gaps. And we've got a box with words that we can use to fill in those gaps. Okay, we have to fill in the gaps with the following words. So we're going to begin reading it, and we're going to begin talking about the history of hacking. Now, first, I think we're going to do the exercise, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about Captain Crunch and what this is all about and why this is like that. Or maybe we can do it in between. Okay, we're gonna go with the flow. Okay, so bear with me. Also, this is the first Life English lesson, so as you may understand, we're improvising a little. We're trying to find out how to do this in the best way possible. Okay, so let's start working on it and let's see what this is all about. Okay, Captain Crunch and hacker history are closely intertwined. Intertwined means that they are connected, that they have something in common. Okay, they are very closely intertwined. In Spanish, entrelazado, which means like, they're like tied together. John Draper, not Don Draper from Mad Men, John Draper, also known Captain Crunch. Now, what preposition do we use after known to say that someone was generally considered, or people knew about someone in some specific way, with some specific name? So we use the preposition as. Known as. Also known as Captain Crunch was a phone phreaker in the 1970s who discovered that the toy whistle whistle, whistle, included in boxes of Captain Crunch cereal could be used to make free long distance calls. I didn't even give you a chance to check that. Um, included in, so it's in. They are inside the boxes of Captain Crunch cereal. So we're talking about a whistle, which is a toy whistle. It's something we use to blow. Okay. Actually, I need to show you these things by. Let me see. I'm going to add. I'm going to look for this now. What I wanted to do was to show you what a toy whistle is, in particular the whistle that's included in boxes of Captain Crunch cereal. This is a whistle, okay? It's a small plastic device that we blow into that produces sound, un silbato, okay? It's a whistle. Now, this whistle was very important to phreakers. Phreakers are, it's a combination of the word phone and phreak, which means, let me see, which means it's a term, it's a slang term coined to describe the activity of a culture of people who study, experiment with, or explore telecommunication systems, such as equipment and systems connected to public telephone networks. Okay. Now, it's very important that while we're learning English, we're trying to we're looking up words. We're trying to find information. We're not taking anything for granted. No estamos dando nada por hecho. We are trying to learn new things, so we have to look words up. There shouldn't be any shame, ninguna vergüenza. There shouldn't be any shame in looking up words when we're trying to figure something out, when we're trying to learn something. Okay? So keep that in mind. A dictionary, Google, the internet, it's always there and it's available for you to use in order to learn more about the language or about anything. Okay? Okay, we're going to go back to the lesson. Captain Crunch was a phone phreaker in the 1970s who discovered that the toy whistle included in boxes of Captain Crunch cereal could be used to make free long distance calls. This discovery led to the development of blue boxing, a technique for manipulating the phone system to make free calls. This discovery led to something. It caused something. It resulted in something. It provoked something. This situation led to this result. Okay? The development of something, when something has been produced, developed, created. The development, el desarrollo de blue boxing. What is blue boxing? Well, got another picture there to see what blue boxing is. So first they started with toy whistles or other ways of producing sounds, and then they went to blue boxing. But before we talk about blue boxing, let's see what this is all about. So just with this first paragraph, we've got a lot of information here, and we might not know what they're talking about. So phone phreaking consisted in manipulating the telephone network. Now, back in the 70s, the telephone network worked with a series of tones. In fact, in a way, it still does, but I'm not an expert in the details of how it works. It's more complex now, and it's digital, so it's not the same. But originally, it worked with tones. The network understood the frequency of those tones, and depending on those tones, it would open or close different doors, we could say, to contact people, to know who you're going to contact. And those frequencies were labeled with numbers. We put numbers on our telephone to understand these tones, tone 1, tone 2, tone 3. But we're not really calling other people with a number. We're calling them with sounds, okay? Maybe you remember the 56K modems of the early days of the internet when we were trying to connect to the internet and we had to wait until it made a call to the server and it started going all that are tones, and so that the modem can make this call, transfer data, and establish a connection. Okay, so we used tones to make phone calls, and what they discovered was that if they used the exact right tone to open some functionalities, they could even make phone calls for free. So they could do free long distance calls by using specific tones into the network. And you could do that just by producing the sound into the receiver of the phone. The receiver, the part where we talk into when we're talking on the phone, that's the receiver. Okay? The receiver and the speaker of the phone. So they used toy whistles to do that. And then they went on further and they developed blue boxing. Now, what is blue boxing? Well, here we have a picture of blue boxing, which in fact is contains two very particularly famous figures. Now, the person here holding the blue box is none other than Steve Wozniak, one of the founders of Apple. Now, this is the blue box, which was a more complex, more sophisticated device that was used to make phone calls and manipulate the phone system in other ways. And then on the left, we see a picture of Steve Jobs, the other very famous founder of Apple. They both were very interested in blue boxing before they got into building computers, before they started building computers. Okay, so let's go back into the lesson. Let's continue reading. Draper became a legend in the hacker community. What community? The hacker community. Not any community, but the hacker community. The community of hackers. And his exploits inspired many others to explore the possibilities of hacking. Exploits, his exploits. In this case, we have like a double use here of the word exploits because it's very related to hacking and other things. First, in this particular context, exploits means achievements. It means what he was able to do, what he did, all the things that sus logros, all the milestones. So his exploits inspired many others, his achievements, his feats. But also in terms of hacking and technological of the use of technology, exploits are when you take advantage of a system in order to use it for something it wasn't originally intended to be used for. Okay, to use it for something that it was not designed for. So we have made a phone system in which you can make calls to the local area, but we find a way to make long distance calls and access the network that we're not supposed to be using. So that would be an exploit. Okay, let's go on. In the early days of computing, hacking, we're talking about the past, hacking was seen as a harmless pursuit. A harmless pursuit. Harmless doesn't do damage to anyone. A pursuit is something that we are trying to achieve, our mission, our objective. A way for curious individuals to explore the potential of new technologies. But as computers became more widespread, generalized, and connected to larger networks, hacking evolved into something more sinister. It evolved into something. It transformed into something. It became something. We use into when we want to indicate transformation or change. In the 1980s, hackers began to use their skills for malicious purposes, such as stealing data and disrupting computer systems. In this case, we can use and or we can use or. Okay? It would be grammatically correct, and they're both in the box. However, we'll see that in other cases, we cannot use and or, we'll have to choose one of them. This led to a crackdown. Crackdown, what is the meaning of crackdown? Well, it's a very common mistake to confuse, in Spanish in particular, to use crackdown thinking that it's like a crash. Like in Spanish, they say the crash, the crack of 29, which in English is the crash of 29, which is the stock market crash. It wouldn't be a crack. So we tend to mix these things up. So it's not necessarily used to mean a collapse. A crackdown on something is when the authorities or the police start fighting something seriously, when they start really trying to stop a certain problem. A crackdown on hacking, a crackdown on drugs, on alcohol, on crime. Okay, it's when the authorities say we're going to take this seriously and we're going to start a big operation to fight this problem. All right. This led to a crackdown on hacking by law enforcement agencies, the police, and many hackers found themselves facing serious legal consequences for their actions. For their actions. Okay. Um, Despite this, the hacker community continued to thrive. Now, we have a very particular word here in the box, which is thrive. What is the meaning of thrive? To thrive is to grow, to prosper, to go well, to continue expanding and becoming better. Okay, so the community continued to thrive, and many hackers saw themselves as rebels fighting against a system they saw as oppressive. Now, I'm going to read that again. Despite this, the hacker community continued to thrive, and many hackers saw themselves as rebels fighting against a system they saw as oppressive, against, contra. They are opposing something, they're fighting the system because they saw it as oppressive, that it was oppressing them. They developed their own language and culture with conventions and gatherings where people get together, gatherings where they could share their knowledge and experiences, where they could share their knowledge with others. Okay, now let's move down, and I'm also going to make it a little bit smaller because it's not going to fit. I'm going to make it a bit bigger because if not, it's too small. Now, all the answers are also at the bottom of the PDF, as we can see down here. Now, you can see the answers of the gap filling exercise, but we're doing it together so that we can not only check the answers, but I'm trying to explain why each answer is that one. Now, let's move on. We can still see the box up here. What else? So, despite this, the hacker community continued to thrive. Okay, they shared their knowledge and experiences. Okay, we finished that paragraph. Today, hacking is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, encompassing everything, including everything. No, everything is in there. So hacking is a very complex phenomenon, and it's can be good and bad, and it has many different angles to it. Now it's encompassing everything, and then it says cybercrime to activism. So we're trying to say one extreme to the other, and we use from cybercrime to activism, from something to something. Okay, from this to that. It covers everything. Okay. The line between ethical and unethical hacking can be blurry. Blurry. It's not clear. We cannot see it properly. It's confusing. So the line between ethical and unethical, because it's a line between two things, we cannot use or as we did up in number 10. So the line between ethical and unethical hacking can be blurry. And the consequences of hacking, the consequences of something, can be far reaching and unpredictable. But the legacy of Captain Crunch lives on. It lives on. It continues. It's still going on. Normally, when we use on as a phrasal verb, we use on after a verb. We mean continuation. That something continues moving, continues going. We should move on. We should go to the next thing. We should carry on. We should continue doing what we're doing. Maybe you remember this famous picture, keep calm and carry on. Keep calm. Oh, keep calm and carry on. It became a bit viral. a few years ago, and I really like this because it has a little story. It was from the Second World War. Anyway, we'll talk about that maybe another day. Maybe there's a whole lesson behind that. Okay. So, the legacy of Captain Crunch lives on as a symbol of the early days of hacking and the spirit of exploration and experimentation that still drives many hackers today, that still motivates many hackers today. Someone with a very strong drive is someone with very strong motivation. Whether, if, whether we see them as heroes or villains, hackers continue. We have an infinitive verb, play. Hackers continue to play an important role, a role in shaping our relationship with technology and the digital world. To shape something is to transform something, to make something the way it is, to give it a specific shape. Darle forma en español. Okay? So, and to play a role in something, to play a role in a particular activity, something that is um, specific, to play a role in this operation that we are going to do, this mission. I have a specific role, you have another role. Okay, so we've finished the text, we've got the text, we've finished all the gaps. Now we're going to go back up briefly and we're going to read those, all these words in bold are in a vocabulary matching exercise that's above, and you can choose to do it in whatever order you like. I haven't really specified. I don't really know what is the best learning way. I think it would be better to do the text first because it gives you some context. Maybe you can try to figure out what the word is, or you can look it up, and then you can maybe consolidate that knowledge by um, doing the vocabulary matching exercise and really just confirming those meanings. Okay, we're going to read the meanings first, and that's why they're on the left, because I think it's the best way to do a vocabulary matching exercise rather than just looking at one word and then trying to read all of these definitions. We just read the definitions and we look for the word, which is a bit more efficient. Okay, and I think it's better in general in class and also as homework. Okay, so unclear or indistinct, lacking sharpness or focus. Unclear or indistinct, lacking sharpness or focus. Let's see. What do you think it is? Take a look. Blurry. Blurry. Something that's unclear. We don't know what it is. B. A person who hacks into telephone systems to make free calls or disrupt services. You guessed it. Phreaker. A phreaker. Phone and freak. A phreaker. Person who hacks into telephone systems. C. Having a broad or extensive impact or influence, affecting many areas or aspects. Far reaching. Far reaching. D. Including or covering everything or everyone within a particular area or group. Encompassing. Including everything. Taking strong and decisive action to stop or suppress something that is considered illegal or harmful. Another way to do this exercise would be to be reading the exercise below, the gap filler, and then going up every time you encounter a bold exercise and trying to find that definition. It might seem a bit messy, but it could be useful for your English learning. E. Taking strong and decisive action to stop or suppress something that is considered illegal or harmful. As we were talking before about the police, to crack down on something, to crack down. Okay. F. Not causing harm or injury. Safe. Harmless. Doesn't cause harm, it's harmless. Not G. Existing or happening over a large area or among many people. Existing or happening over a large area or among many people. Let's see what we've got. Widespread. It's everywhere. This can be confused with far reaching that it gets very far. It really permeates everywhere. And widespread is that it's generalized, okay? It's just very common among everyone. H. Events where people come together for a specific purpose, such as socializing or discussing ideas. gatherings, when people get together. I, actions taken to take advantage of a weakness or vulnerability in a system or situation. Exploits. Remember what we said before about exploits? So in this case, exploits is not really from the context. Maybe I should change that. Exploits is the second sense, or one of the alternative meaning, which is something to take advantage of a weakness. That is an exploit. Which is exactly what John Draper did, of course. J, sorry. A small device that produces a high-pitched sound. A small device that produces a high-pitched, a very loud noise. Agudo in Spanish, high-pitched. A whistle. Whistle. Okay, it's a whistle. It's a bit difficult to pronounce. And finally, K, twisted or woven together, often in a complex way. First word, intertwined. Intertwined. Woven together. Woven is that it's like knitted, um, woven together, twisted together. Okay, well that's all. That's the history of hacking. A little introduction. You can actually find more about that in the Wikipedia. Take a look, read it, see how all of this happened. There are obviously many more details to read about. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that this has helped you learn some more English, some new words, and maybe something interesting that you didn't know. And if you like it, please like the video, leave a comment, tell us what you think. Are you tech savvy? Did you know about the history of hacking? Do you think this is an interesting thing? Would you like to be a hacker? Would that be useful? Maybe nowadays with so many digital devices, maybe we should be little hackers and learn how to use these technologies, take advantage of them, and not be vulnerable to these attacks. So maybe we should become little hackers. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if you think there's anything you would like to comment or change or do differently. I'm all ears. I would really like to know what you think. And please subscribe if you want to get more of these lessons and learn a bit more about English without really thinking about the English all the time. Okay. Now that's really the main goal of this. I hope to make these videos a bit better over time. We'll see how that goes. Now, thank you very much again, and see you next time. Bye bye.